Hello, welcome to today's video. We are on page number 125 of the Keyboard Musicianship Book 1. And today we're going to be talking about the more harmonizations here. We started harmonizing with chord symbols in both major and minor. Now let's talk about page 125, numbers 5 and 6. So we see here that we are going to be working on a Slovak and then a German tune. Number 5, the Slovak, is in E minor. Okay, and so we see here it says to harmonize number 5 with tonic and the dominant 6-5 chord, which is that one right there, B7, and second inversion abbreviated. Now, based on a initial perusal or run through of this piece, it shouldn't only be tonic and dominant 6-5 chords. There is a moment where another chord would be appropriate. So let's go ahead and first of all figure out the harmony from the melodic structure, okay, and from what sounds agreeable. Now, what does it mean to sound agreeable? Well, first of all, when we talk about the melodic structure, what notes in the melody will belong to a chord? We have this first measure, and as you can see, it includes the first and the third of the chord E minor, especially emphasizing the third there. And so we know that's going to be an E minor chord. Now measure number 2 is a little bit different. It starts on the note A and proceeds to go down back to E. Does this mean it is a dominant 7th chord? What sounds agreeable means what sounds good, what makes sense, okay? What is a good progression, okay? Mostly of the what sounding good part. Let's go ahead first of all and try out some of these harmonies with this melody, okay? The melodic structure, of course, are there notes that pertain to that chord. Let's go ahead and start off by playing a dominant 7th chord here. We have D sharp, A, and B, and let's play it against the melody. So melodically, structurally, the note A is in that chord right there. We know that the B7 chord has an A as the 7th itself. It does not include a 3rd, a 5th, or even the root of the chord. So that could be appropriate for this part of the song. Let's put them back to back, first measure and second measure. All right, let's try that again. And then, of course, measure 3, we'd go to E minor. Okay, dominant 7th chord, it could make sense being there. I would like to suggest a different harmony, however, a different chord. In the key of E minor, let's talk about the subdominant chord right there, which is scale degree number 4. In the key of E minor, a scale degree chord for number 4 will be a minor chord, and in this case, A minor. So A minor is scale degree number 4. I would like to suggest putting that chord instead of a dominant 7th chord. Let's listen to what it sounds like. First of all, with the measure number 1. Does it sound agreeable? Does it sound like it belongs? Like it would go there? And as you can tell, as you can see, I am playing this chord, this A minor, in second inversion. And so it makes sense because the E is in here, in the melody, and the A is also in the melody. As a matter of fact, it starts with an A. And so it could very well be an A minor chord. And I'm going to suggest that we use that as the chord. Okay, measure number 2. It's just the 1st and the 3rd of E minor, so we know that's E minor. And then the F sharp, there is no other chord that would have an F sharp except for, which would be the 5th of the dominant 7th chord, which is right there, but abbreviated, it does not include it, so that's why we have it in the melody. Okay? And then, of course, we're going to go ahead and repeat the first 2 chords again with the melody that is a repetition. Oh, excuse me. And this is the dominant 7th right there. Back to E minor. All together. Make sure you have that legato for the last 2 measures in the right hand. Okay, so we've come up with our melody, and now let's go ahead and talk about how we're going to notate this. So we have here a very grainy kind of scan of page number 125, and so I'm going to go ahead and talk to you about, first of all, the chord symbols and the Roman numerals, okay? So let's go ahead and talk first of all about the Roman numerals. We are in the key of E minor, so we're just going to go ahead and put that right there. The first Roman numeral would be tonic 1, and the chord E minor. And if you'd like to put a little line like I like to do, go ahead and put it there. Now when we talk about the chords, the notes themselves, we're going to go ahead and just put a half note. So we have 3/3 stacked on top of each other and the stem going down. Measure number 2. We talked about this being an A minor chord, and so we know A minor is 4 of the E minor, the 4th scale degree. And let's go ahead and write out the chord first, okay? So we have an E right here, and then because it is in second inversion, we have a 4th between the first one and the next one, and then of course these are just thirds right here. E, A, C, and because this is in second inversion, we're going to go ahead and put this figured bass of 6/4. The chord symbol for this one will be A minor / E. And that's our chord symbol, pop chord symbol. Back to E minor once again. You know how to notate that, so I'm just going to let you do it. It's going to be the same half note. We're just going to be doing half notes. And now for measure number 4, this is where we first get our 5/6/5. So go ahead and put the dominant 7, but dominant V, capital V, 6/5 as the figured bass, and the chord symbol, the pop chord symbol, is going to be as follows. We put B7, and that's going to be / D sharp. And D sharp, because we are going to be doing this in second inversion. And so when we put this, we're going to go ahead and put that, D, and make sure that you have enough space for the sharp. The A is going to be 5 steps above, and the B in the corner. And let's go ahead and put the little line like that. The 6 meaning the D sharp from B is 6 steps, and then D sharp to A is 5 steps, and that's where we get to 6/5. Okay, so this is how we notate and write out the chord symbols and the figured bass Roman numerals for the first system. Let's now go ahead and move on to the next system. Here, once again, we have a repetition. It's going to be the same chords that you did for the first 2 measures. And for measure number 7, let's just go ahead and start there. This is where we have our dominant chord here. Same thing again, 5, 6, 5. Okay, so let's just go ahead and put the little melody with that, E minor. And then this is going to be A minor slash E, just so you remember. But you go ahead and do this like you did it before. I'm not going to do it now because it'll be just be too much repetition. And then we have here our chord symbol as B7 once again, slash D sharp. We remember how to do the D sharp once again. D sharp right there with an A and then a B, stem. And then of course, 3 E's definitely are saying, hey, this is establishing an E minor chord, the 1. And we know that the E minor, of course, is just like that. Very simple. Okay, and that's how we complete this first piece from Slovakia. That's the eastern side of the former Slovakian country. All right, so very good. That's how we do that one. Let's go ahead and move on next to Germany. Now it says here to harmonize number 6 with tonic and dominant 6/5 chords again, and it's asking us to use a waltz style accompaniment. This is something that should have already been learned as part of our tool belt for the chromatic chord exercise. And if you need a reminder, we can simply go to page 123, which is a couple pages before. Now it says here to determine the harmony from a close examination of the melody, non-tonic tones suggest the dominant 6/5. Non-tonic meaning because we're in the key of D major, which is D, F sharp, and A, if there are notes that are not part of this chord here, if there are notes that are not these 3, it might be the dominant 6/5. What is the dominant 6/5 of D major? Of course, it's going to be A7, which includes A, C sharp, E, and G. Abbreviated is just the C sharp, G, and A there. Let's go ahead and see if we can determine this without playing on the piano. We'll have the piano there as our reference, but can we do this simply written and in our minds? We already know that this is in the key of D major, so let's go ahead and establish that right over here. Putting D. We have a pickup bar, F sharp, G, and then we go back to F sharp, E, E. So what kind of chord would we be playing with F sharp, E, E? Once again, let's go ahead and play our A7 chord right there. In the key of A7, we have the E. We do not have an F sharp though. In the key of D major, we do have an F sharp, okay? So, will this be appropriate for either an A7 chord or a D major chord? Now, before we answer that question, I want to bring your attention to the second measure here, which is D, F sharp, F sharp. That most definitely establishes a D major chord. So let's go ahead and just put here D major as the chord, because we know it's going to be D major, and that's going to be 1 down here. And when we do the waltz style accompaniment, once again, remember, we start by playing a single note, the bass by itself, and then we play the two top notes, which is the third and the fifth, twice, and make sure that lines up with the melody in the right hand. And that'll be non-legato. Let's go ahead and play that non-legato. Okay, so we know this is D major. But for the first measure, what is this chord? So we did say we're going to try to do it without, but once again, we have to see if it sounds agreeable. Does it sound agreeable with either D major or A7? Let's go ahead and play the melody first. And let's play that with a D major chord, first of all. Just let's do it as a block. So we have a little clash there. Although there's nothing wrong with having a ninth right there, but we're not playing ninth chords in this piece. Okay, so now let's go ahead and play A7. Now as you can hear, this chord as opposed to, now they both sound fine, they both sound consonant, okay, but this chord here, the A7, sounds more agreeable and would make more sense because the two E's on beats 2 and 3 are definitely establishing that A7 chord right there. So let's go ahead and identify this. First of all, in the left hand for the pickup bar, there is a rest. So the chord is not starting there. It is starting here on the first full measure. Let's go ahead and put A7. And this will have a slash. What is the slash? Well, it appears to be a C sharp. C sharp, because we are in first inversion. Okay. All right, so how are we going to write this out as a first inversion? Now, when we talked about the waltz style accompaniment, we play the bottom note once and then the top two notes twice. It's not necessarily going to be third and fifth, but however the chord is spelled out. So in this case, we have a C sharp here on beat number 1. And I need to put a sharp because it's already there. And then the top two notes are going to be G and A. And let's go ahead and put like this, kind of in the corner of each other. Boom. And then right over here, another boom. Okay, so we have C sharp. And then G and A being played as seconds. Oops, I don't want to do that. Okay, so this is going to be our A7 slash C sharp. The Roman numeral is going to be 5, 6, 5. Very good. Okay, now for measure number 3. So that continues into measure number 4. A, E, A. Two notes that belong to the A7 chord. So, yeah, that's going to definitely be A7. A7 slash C sharp. Let's go ahead and write that in. And of course, our Roman numeral, 6, 5. And once again, same chords like we did on the first measure. G and A, and then G and A over here. Now, on measure number 4, though, the fourth measure, the fourth full measure, we have a quarter rest on beat number 3. So what kind of rhythm are we going to be putting there on beats 1 and 2? Let's go ahead and try it out first of all. I'm going to start on measure number 3. Sometimes when we play waltzes or the waltz accompaniment, and when we're starting with a pickup, we're going to simply play part of the accompaniment. And so what that means is we're simply going to put a C sharp here and just one quarter note right here. So one of the pa. Instead of pa pa, we do pa. And then the quarter rest starts the melody again into the next phrase, into the next system. Okay? So this is how you would write this. The chord symbol will not be repeated or the Roman numeral here because it's the same harmony as the previous measure. Okay, so that's that. Let's now go ahead to the bottom system. All right, so as we can see here, once again, we have a repetition of the first two measures, and there's a little bit of a contrast for the last two measures, just so we remember. Once again, we have the A7 here, slash C sharp, just as a reminder, and then D major there, and then once again, we have an A7 right here, slash C sharp. And then, of course, D, I'm kind of rushing ahead, but as you can see, A, E, E again, that is establishing the dominant chord. So let's go ahead and write that in, dominant 6-5, definitely that one. And once again, how do we write that in? Like so. The G and A are together, G and A, just like that. Waltz style. And because we have a pickup bar, once again, we're doing the cut. Well, we're doing not a canceled, but just an abbreviated waltz style rhythm here. That is not supposed to be a C. That's going to be once here, D, and then we have A and F sharp, just once because it's 2 beats. All right, now let's go ahead and play the whole thing. Here we go. From the beginning, let's actually move all this out of the way so we can see the whole thing. 1, 2. And there you have it. That's how we harmonize and write out all of our notes. Make sure, please, that you are writing the chord symbols, Roman numerals, and the notating in the staff. And that's all the time we have for today. We'll see you next lesson. Bye-bye.